Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with Aussie and Indian troops invade Tarakan, talking about obviously the Aussies and the Indians, Indian troops invading Tarakan and taking it back from the Japanese. We're now on to British and Russians join in Baltic area, May 1945. Leaders confer. Field Marshal Sir Bernard L. Montgomery, right here, commander of the 21st Army Group, and Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky, right there, commander of the 2nd White Russian Army, leave the British 6th Airborne Division command post at Wismar, Germany, where their troops joined for the first time, 62 miles northwest of Berlin. Yeah, obviously these guys are pretty big. Rokossovsky, um, a name that doesn't necessarily get spoken about as much now, which is not. I mean, he should be. He's a pretty important guy. But obviously Montgomery, very well known, talked about today. But this is a big deal, obviously. You know, the Americans have already met up with the Soviets. Now we have the British. The Allies are fully closed in Germany. In many spots, they're just fully surrounded. V2 scientists surrender to Americans. May 1945. A future for V2. These German scientists gave themselves up to the United States 7th Army in the Bavarian Alps, where they were operating a V2 experimental laboratory. They told interviewers that the V2 bomb would shape the course of the next war. Left to right, they are Major General, uh, Major General Walter Donnenberg, commander of the V2 laboratory, Lieutenant Colonel Berbert Axter, scientist, Professor Wernher von Braun, inventor of the V2 rocket, and Hans Lindbergh, scientist. An auto crash caused the injury for the arm. Yeah, these are obviously very important guys, and maybe not necessarily in the next war. I mean, missiles do make an important point, but the V2 rocket is definitely an important device. We really can't understate the importance of the V2 rocket in modern warfare and a lot of modern space travel. You do not have modern space travel without the V2 rocket. You don't have a lot of modern missile systems, without the V2 rocket. Von Braun, obviously, a little bit more considered a little bit more important than Donnerberg, even though Donnerberg is technically above him, but because of his invention of the V2 rocket and what that'll do. Um, these scientists get gobbled up by both the Soviets and the United States on both sides. There are going to be a lot of these V2 scientists that get gobbled up because obviously this technology, everyone can kind of agree, this is some really important technology. Hitler is reported dead. Oh boy. It's like my phone doesn't want to autofocus on him. May 1st, 1945. Donetsk takes over. A German radio broadcast from Hamburg on May the 1st started the war with the announcement that Adolf Hitler had given his life in the defense of Berlin. Allied leaders were skeptical and wanted to see the body. But no trace was found. Contradictory stories of his mysterious death only confused the issue. Grand Admiral Karl Donitz, a 53-year-old U-boat specialist, stepped into the breach, proclaiming himself the new Führer. Hitler, left, and Donitz, on the right, are shown here as they appeared together in 1942. And obviously, this is a big deal. The reports of Hitler being dead, they they are true. Obviously, there's a big conspiracy that he never died, that he escaped, and that he'd be long passed away by now. But who knows? It's hard to really know. Now, obviously, the official story is he's dead, and I mean, if you want to believe it, that's the official story. So it's good to believe that he died then. But who really knows? It's hard to really say. But Having Donuts stand in, he's a strong individual, very standoutish. People know him, they respect him, so makes sense that he would stand in. The Führer doesn't live here anymore. May the 1st, 1945. Not at home. Whether Hitler actually died in Berlin or took it out on the lam doesn't make the slightest bit of difference to this GI Joe who makes himself comfy in the Führer's bedroom at the Brown House, Munich. The new Führer, Grand Admiral Karl Donitz, said that the war would continue, and it did, for a week. Later, the Allies imprisoned Donitz. Yeah, Donitz is kind of a dummy. Like, he should have just given up. Like, he took over, he should have been like, hey, peace talks, things like that. He might have gotten away with some of this, but going like, oh, guys, don't worry, we're still going to continue the war, that does not help you. Nobody wants to continue this war. Bayonets clear a way to Rangoon. May 1945. Attack from the north. Troops of the 14th Army raced toward Rangoon from the Meticula Prom Arc in the north to join with the other forces from the south. Sikh infantry clears the brush at Bayonet Point, and armored and ground troops pushed forward below. Yeah, so you can see a lot of the Sikh troops pushing through there with bayonets, and you're kind of going to, you're trying to, you don't know where this enemy could be. They could be in holes right beneath you, all that, so bayonets fixed, guns ready, things like that. And you got the armored divisions going with the infantry. That's typically what had happened a lot. Infantry could use armored divisions to defend themselves a lot. Gurkhas swarm over Rangoon. May 1st, 1945. Drop from RAF planes. Accumulating a 1,000-mile battle over mountains and jungle from Lashio and Kohima, British and Indian forces took Rangoon on May the 3rd, attacking from land, sea, and air. The first force into enemy territory at Rangoon was the Indian Parachute Regiment shown here. Simultaneously, General Slim's 14th Army bore down from the north, and seaborne landings were made by the Navy. Yeah, look, we talked about Adolf kicking the bucket and him being removed, but we don't, all this stuff was still going on. The war didn't just stop for a time out in the east. You still have the Japanese doing lots of things, and people are trying to take them out at any point. And you got the Indian troops getting in there. And, these are talked about some when you're talking about the East, but a lot of times people talk about the American perspective on this. But you really, really, really cannot deny the bravery and the ferocity of those Indian troops on all fronts. The game is up in Italy. May the 1st, 1945. Troops celebrate in Genoa. Victorious 5th Army troops moved through the streets of Genoa, Italy, as civilian crowds come out to view them. It had been a very tough fight in Italy. Salerno and Cassino would not soon be forgotten. The American 5th and British 8th Armies fought for many bitter months below Boulogne before the sudden breakthrough. Yeah, Italy, it took a long time, and mostly it's down to the weather. They talk about the bitter fighting. Yeah, the Germans held in, but a lot of it has to do with that weather. That weather is just so awful to fight in at this time, and they just can't get through it. It's just not good. Barge land troops at Rangoon. May the 2nd, 1945. Assault river mouth. Allied troops in barges from the British Navy forced the Rangoon River mouth open 20 miles below the city after Indian and British paratroops had cleared the way a day earlier. Amphibious forces approached landing points above, and weighed ashore below. Rangoon fell under combined sea, air, and land blows on May the 3rd. Yeah, Rangoon, it takes a little bit. It takes a while for them to fully get that under wraps. But once they do, it's good. And you can really see on all fronts, the Germans have basically lost at this point. Not quite, but they're getting there. Not by May the 2nd, but they're getting there. And the Japanese are falling just as fast now because a lot of the force can be kind of less focused on Germany and stuff. A lot of the focus is now getting on Japan, and they're like, okay, let's get this through here. All right, this is all that's left. A lot of the focus can be then shifted, and it makes a big difference. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have any ways I can improve these videos, leave a comment below. It really does help out. And as always, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Thank you.